Honestly, I'm tired of repeating the same cycles. I wanna let it go. So here I go. Life drop. Starting a new path for my fam. Finding who I am. Speaking life, loving me, even when I fall. Cause life be life in us all. Life be life in us all. Cause life be life in us all. Life be life in us all. Hey y'all, hey, it's me, Portia O, your host of Life Be Lifin podcast. I'm here again with another installation of a podcast episode. Thank y'all for joining me today. I am so grateful to be here with you all. This is, I believe, the last episode of this year, 2023. I have had another birthday. I'm officially 36 out here in these streets. Okay. And we're going up differently this year. Okay. But before we do, go in 2024, I'm going to talk to you guys about how I've been over here transitioning like a mom. A mug. That's something we say in Chicago lingo, like a mug. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what else to tell you. That's just what we say. But essentially, it's like a lot. So I'm transitioning like a mug. Like that's definitely happening. Like this is my life. So I want to talk about the things that I have experienced and what I've learned from and how it's been affecting me and my babies because that's the whole thing in itself. Okay. I can go on and on and on about me, but what I have really realized throughout this season is how it is affecting my children. And I like it. But these are the facts of life. And here we are. So, let's talk about how things have been transitioning in my life. But before we go there, if this is your first time here, welcome. On this podcast, we talk about how life be over here, life in via all types of relationships, situations, and everyday things. We are experiencing all in real time, healing and learning how to be a better human being. So if that's what you're all about, you are in the right place at the right time. Thank you for joining. Let's take it on over to hashtag Life Be Life in Us all, okay? Hey, the village. This is where I have you all send me news, topics, and other requests that you would love to hear me talk about. So please email me at this email below, lifebelifin@anchoredinllc.com, and or you can reach out to me on any of my social media platforms as the DMs are open for suggestions only. Okay. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate you and your participation in being a part of hashtag the village. All right. So moving right along into, I got some questions, y'all. Okay. All right. First question is who gets caught in the crosshairs of your decisions? Okay. I think a lot of times as adults, especially adults that are in control of little people's lives, that we make a lot of decisions and do things that are not necessarily we may not be thinking about how it's affecting them or what that will look like for them, right? So let's talk about it. Who gets caught in the crosshairs of your decisions? And it may not even be little people. It may be your parents. It may be your siblings. It may be your friends. It may be a lot of different situations, right? But let's talk about it. What do transitions look like for you? Okay. I'm going to lay all mine out, but what do transitions really look like for you? That's another question to ask yourself. And another question is, when should you move accordingly? Okay. When should you move accordingly based on your decisions or your thoughts or these transitions that you may have to encounter or endure? When should you move? And the last question, why does it matter to change your vantage point? Okay. That kind of correlates with the first question, who gets caught in the crosshairs. But why is it important to change your vantage? Why does it matter to change your vantage point on your decision making or whatever? Again, I told y'all know my life. I have these two little babies, and I got to think about them at all times. So it's very important for me to start making decisions even more with them in mind or whatever, because I'll really be out here on the less struggle bus. Uh, y'all know I'm always on that bus. But anyway, the point is, I I do take them into consideration, but also it's like I got to do what's best for me in this moment. So now I'm reaping the benefits of that, or yeah, that's a lot happening. So anyway, let's get into it. Okay, gonna go to the segment. This is just my life experience, where I tell you an interesting story about my life relating to food, my home, relationships, money, blah, 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 and I share it with you all. Okay, so I'm gonna run down to you the transitions that have been happening in my life. Oh, these last few years. I'm gonna say the last 2 years in particular, because it's been a huge transitional period for me and my children. So, as you all know, that I am separated, going through a divorce, and it has not been finalized. God's grace, it will be finalized in 2024. Um, Listen, okay. Anyway, but in the midst of these transitions, or what have you, um, a lot has happened. So I'm just gonna walk you through my transitions and explain to you guys why I've been transitioning like a mom. Okay. Leaving our home as we knew it. Okay. Um, I left my home with my two kids, not with the intentions or plans on being gone for long. But then, boom, we were gone for long. But I simply uprooted our lives in a matter of a day. It was something. I remember that day when I was packing my car, and I went to get my baby from school that day. And it was just a lot. I had called off of work. It was a lot for me. It was a very impulsive decision. Well, it wasn't impulsive. I really did think about it. I stated what was going to happen once a conversation was had, and I stood on that. I meant what the hell I said. And I left not thinking about how that move would really impact us in the long run, right? And so I did that and went to my mom's house, who had a one bedroom apartment at the time. And the next transition, again, I didn't intend on leaving and staying for a long period of time, but boom, transition number two happened. And we end up staying at my mother's house for 7 whole months. Okay. My kids were sleeping in the room with my mom primarily. And I was sleeping on my mother's couch for 7 months while I figured out what my new normal looked like, or if this was going to still be my new normal, or what was going to happen with my life, right? In the midst of that transition, Leah was still going to school out by our old house, which was about an hour away from my mom's house. And so every morning, thank God I work from home. Every morning, I will wake up early at the crack of dawn, meet and Leah, get her dressed for school, and give her some food in the car, and she can go back to sleep in the car. And as we drive an hour to her bus stop, so that she can continue her regular routine, even though this wasn't still her regular routine, right? Because She went from being woken up like 30 minutes before we have to be at the bus to like 2 hours before. So this disrupted her schedule, and this transition was not good because I left that January, and that May she got out of school. So from January to May, I would get up every morning, Monday through Friday, take my baby to her bus stop so she get on the bus, and then I would drive myself to the local Starbucks and essentially work until she got off of out of school, picked her back up at the bus stop. I would clock out from work, drive an hour back to my mom's house through rush hour, and finish my work day out. And most of those days, I probably wouldn't get off of work until like 7 something because I have to do my 8 hours a day. So thank God I have a job that was very lenient and understanding to the transition that I was going through and was willing to work with me. And at that point, I think I was still going into work once a week. But when I notified my manager about, my current circumstances, they were very understanding and agreed to allow me to not come into the office even at once a week because it would have just been too much for me to try to balance. Yeah. So thank God for that. I am so grateful. And they didn't care how I did my 80 hours long as I did it. So I'm just grateful that I had a situation that could, be flexible with this. Because had I not, I probably would have rethought that whole process. Anywho, so yeah, we did that in the midst of going back, traveling back and forth every day for her to go to school and continue some resemblance of normalcy for her. My car that I had had since 2018, got a brand new off the lot, was having issues. First, it was the tires that were like almost completely bald. And I end up getting 4 brand new tires so that we wouldn't be slipping and sliding in the Chicago winter. Okay. Thank God for his provisions for that. But shortly after, like literally right after, my vehicle started to overheat for no reason. Again, my vehicle is only a few years old. This was 2021, 2022. 2022. Yeah, 2022. So it's not even that old, but because we live kind of far, and when I first got the vehicle, I was still commuting back and forth to work 3 hours a day. I put a lot of miles on that car. Also, with my then spouse utilizing it to different food deliveries and Ubers and all this type of stuff, whatever, until we were able to get him a vehicle, it was a lot of wear and tear on my precious little baby Ash. Okay. That's my car name. That was my car name. Don't come for her. Anyway, yeah, she started to overheat a lot. I went to the local shop to get it checked out. Like, what's going on? And they were like, I needed a new alternator or something. Child, I don't even remember because listen, God is good. So I had to deal with that. It was another transition in the midst of a transition. Okay. Transitioning to a vehicle because I'm like, I cannot not have a vehicle. My baby still need to go to school. I still need to be able to get back and forth wherever I need to go. Like, this is not an option, right? And so I started car hunting. And in the midst of that, God, man, I went back to the original dealership that I got my first vehicle from, and they weren't willing to give me a car or take in my trade-in vehicle because it really wasn't worth nothing, essentially. And so I did a lot of shopping around, went to multiple dealerships. I was going to settle for this one because I wanted an SUV. I have growing kids. One was still in the car seat. It was just a lot. Like, I needed more space than what my vehicle could offer. And so, anyways, but then this also meant that my car note may be going up. it's just a lot of things that was happening that I wasn't really anticipating on happening, hence transitions. Um, we don't always prepare for the transitions, but they still happen, right? I almost signed a deal at the dealership for this vehicle that I really didn't want, but I was going to settle for because I was in a bind. Like I have to pick something like ASAP. I can't keep driving this car. It's overheating, and I can't afford to get a brand new alternator or whatever else the hell it needed. I don't know. I just really lean to depend on the Lord, as I always do. And Leah was getting out of school like the second week of May, second or third week of May. And I needed to get this car situation handled ASAP. It was so funny. I went to my aunt's house and I was telling her my aunt is like my second mom. And she always helps me like with financial stuff and all this type of stuff because she's really good with that type of stuff. So I was just telling her like what was going on or whatever. And she was like, why don't you try CarMax? And I was like, no, I tried CarMax so many years ago when I was shopping around 2018 to get a car, and they weren't really trying to mess with your girl because my credit wasn't the best, and it was just a whole thing. She got this big picture window in her living room, and outside, she always has her blinds open, so I'm looking directly outside, and this beautiful blue truck pulls up for a neighbor, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that truck is so beautiful! Like I would love something like that." It's the mid-size SUV. It would be perfect for me and the girls. Like, but I again back to my self-worth and thinking that I'm not worth certain things or certain things are out of my reach because of my circumstances or whatever, and minimizing my God, okay? Because that's the main part of it, right? I was like, I know I can't get a vehicle like that, but I would love to get something like that. So my aunt's still encouraging me to, look into CarMax. I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna go on the site. I done been over here, I'd have been over there, I'd have been everywhere. So let me just go ahead and try CarMax. I go onto the website and I put in what type of vehicle I'm looking for. I put in my price range. I put in all the things I'm willing to put down, whatever. So I did all of that and I applied and they say yes. And I'm like, me? Y'all gonna let me in the group? And then I got approved for that truck that God had placed in my vantage point of view to see this Equinox, the Chevy Equinox, and it was that same pretty blue pearl. Okay. And I was like, yes, come on. 2020. Okay. It was 2022. But I was like, it was a used vehicle. It wasn't a brand new car, which was fine. It only had a couple of miles on it, so it was perfect, like top, tip top condition. And so God blessed me to go through that process. Um, and they had to ship my vehicle from somewhere, and I went and picked it up from the local CarMax. Went in and out, and I still was in awe and shock. And I was like, "There's no way they're giving me this car." Like when I get here to pick up this car, they're gonna be like, "Oh, Miss Omalaya, we thought, roll out the band. We was wondering if you could do an extra because I ended up having to put money down in addition to." So I was like, it's something that I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Remember, I talked about me ready to take them blows because I'm like, there's no way they're going to take this car and they're going to let me get this car and it's going to be okay, whatever. I think I only end up paying $200 down. Who said my God couldn't do it? Because I did it. Actually, I did, but it's the doubting, but God. Okay. So I went through with it. I stepped out on faith and God blessed me. And I still was waiting for them to say, no, you can't. And they never did. They gave me them keys. I walked out with my brand new truck. I was so grateful, so excited. And it was, I think, May 2nd, something like that. Like, what? God is so good. Trying to tell y'all, okay? So that was a good transition. I mean, it was a stressful one at first because I didn't know what was going to happen. And I had essentially spent like the whole month trying to find me a vehicle. And at the very last second, the Lord came in. Sounding like a Baptist preacher. But no, he came in and showed out for your girl. So I was so excited and super enthused for this blessing. And that was in May. So after that was handled and situated, once we got Leah finished with first grade, I was like, okay, moving on to transition number 4. I need to find me a place because at this point we've had all the conversations and all the things. And it seems like, Portia, you need to move on with your life. Okay. And it was very devastating. It was a very devastating season and time. I had a lot of downs. And even for my kids to experience that, we went from being in our own home with them having their own room and all those things being in my mom's cramped up apartment, me and my mom losing our cool with each other at times. The kids having much smaller space to play in and having to deal with my mother's rules and regulations and different things like that. And in the midst of their mother not being mentally well at all times, even though I thought I was handling it with grace and I was smiling and everything's great, my babies were perceiving sadness and they heard me emoting at times and heard me on the phone and having conversations. And Leah for sure saw a lot of me going through my emotional roller coaster as my life was changing right before my eyes, right? Transitioning like a mug, okay? And that was never my intention. But it also wasn't my intention for her to see an unhappy and unhealthy marriage. So there's that. Again, some things were in my control and some things were out of my control. And I wanted, one of the reasons why I decided to have that conversation that led up to the separation was because I wanted my girls to see what a happy, healthy marriage looks like. And I didn't want them to be discouraged or think that they have to stay in a situation if it's no longer serving them, right? And also to be able to stand up for yourself and be courageous enough to know that you are worthy of more than what somebody is willing to give you. And so, yeah, or not give you for that. Anyway, yeah, I wanted to show all of those things, but also on the flip side of showing those things, I had to also show them that mommy is not always strong. Mommy is not always, she doesn't always know what she's doing. I don't never know what I'm doing. That's the secret. Okay. Mommy doesn't make all the best decisions sometimes. Sometimes mommy's decisions are good and for the best, and you won't understand it until you're old enough to process it and understand it fully. But yeah, it was a lot happening. It was a lot happening. But I decided that I was going to get off my mom's couch after 7 months of moping and crying, snotting, screaming, yelling, doing all the things. And I'm going to get up and I'm going to find a place for me and my babies to go. And I was in Starbucks one day working, and I was like, okay, I got to start looking for stuff. And so I started researching on apartments.com. I went on whatever all the other sites are, Zillow, whatever. And I saw these apartments come up, and my idea was, well, maybe we'll still work it out, right? And I would hate to move my baby out of her school district because mommy's ultimate plan was for her to grow up in the same school district and with the same friends and kind of have that experience, something I really didn't have. But grow up with the same people from kindergarten on up. That was my dream. That's what I wanted to gift my kids. And it was a wonderful school district they were in. And yeah, that was the plan. So I was like, well, maybe me and my STDX will work this out. And so I'm going to move still in the neighborhood of the school district. And so I even looked at some apartment complexes around the corner from our townhouse, and I was like, who child the ghetto? I could not. I looked at the reviews. The laundry was a shared unit type thing, and it had disgusting reviews as far as maintenance is. I no, I couldn't do it. And then it was very important for me to still have some semblance of what I was used to, which was having like an in unit washer and dryer, so I could wash our clothes at any time, like whatever, like make it easier for me. I don't want to have to be carrying laundry bags in and out the house. It's me and two small children. Somebody can target me. Like I just want to minimize whatever I can minimize, whatever's in my control. Anywho, this apartment came up. It was a gated community. This is transition number 4 still. Um, Gated community. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just looking at the pictures, essentially window shopping. Because I'm like, there's no way I can afford to stay in a place like this. Like it's beautiful, it's gorgeous. And so they had an outside pool, they had a fitness center, they had a clubhouse, like a host things there at any time. It was enclosed garages, but it was also parking outside. So whatever, like I'm like, this is perfect. I'll feel safe with me and my babies. It was a playground on site, so we can go over to the playground. Like it was all the things that I never knew I needed. I applied, stepping out on faith again. I was like, God, I know I probably can't afford this place. I think the minimum rent was $1,400. The minimum. And that was for a 1-bedroom / studio apartment because it really wasn't even a bedroom. It didn't have a door. It was like, yeah. But I was like, you know what? If I have to, again, transitioning my kids from having their own room and bathroom to us sharing a room in this apartment space where we will be safe, we will be close, we'll still be in the school district, we'll be close. Michael was starting preschool that year and we'll be close to her school. Like everything was like 7 minutes away. And we weren't too far from their dad either. So if he wanted to help me by chance, anyway, he has the access to do that. And he can see his kids whenever he wants to, right? Me being so considerate of everyone in the midst of this transitioning. And so, yeah, I applied. They approved me. To God be the glory. Now with apartments and stuff, they be like, you got to make 3 times the rent. I did not make 3 times the rent. I did not. I ain't going to hold you. I did not. And I was already paying $1,400 of rent at my townhouse. I'm like, now I'm going to have to really stand on my own 10 toes and pay $1,400 for a studio / 1-bedroom apartment for me and my children to share this same space. It's fine. It's cool. Thank you, Lord. It's in a gated community. I have access to a fitness center. I can go work out. I can, we can go to the pool in the summertime. Like, whatever. We're going to make it work. And we're going to be appreciative and grateful. Got it. Boom, bam. Now we're moving out of mommy's house, honey's house, and we're moving into our own space, not back to our home. The girls at that time didn't know that I moved our stuff out of our townhouse. I don't think they were clear on that. So when I said we were moving, they're like, we're moving back home? No, not back home. We're getting our own home. Moved to our own space. When they got there, they loved it. They were super excited, all of those things. But the question continuously came up, when are we going to be back with daddy? Why do we have to be away from daddy? And we had many meltdowns in that apartment. Even though everything was new, everything was great, I made it as comfortable as I could. My babies were still struggling with the transition of not seeing their father every single day of their lives as they have been privy to for the last 6 years of Leah's life and the last 2 years of Micah's, right? And that was devastating. I ain't gonna hold you. It was devastating because, again, this is something that's out of my control. Yes, me and their father decided to go our separate ways, but that didn't mean that they should not have to see their father or be around their father as often as they may like. But again, that's another thing that was out of my control, how someone else moves, right? I can't force or make someone do things the way that I want them to do it because that's what I think should happen. But that was very hard for my babies. They seen a father only a handful of times. And again, it wasn't because I didn't want them to see their father. It's more so of what he made time to do. And so that was really hard. And I took the brunt of that as being the primary parent, even in our new space. And we weren't too far from our old home. The kids were always badgering me about wanting to see their dad. I got this 3 spaced picture frame that you could put 3 pictures in or whatever. And I put mine in the middle and the girls' individual ones on the side. And one day Leah had a meltdown about that, just randomly. She liked it, thought it was beautiful, whatever. One day she was like, I don't want. It was one day that he did come visit them. And after he left, they were both upset, as they always are. And she was like, I don't want the 3 Omalayo girls picture. I want the 4 Omalayos, the family together again. I want daddy's picture up there. Like it's moments like that that would like break me. Another hit that I take to the chest. And I don't think that people think about those things when you're in the midst of transitions. Like I don't think people think about how heartbreaking that could be, how okay, I didn't think that this would trigger you. My baby's already got triggers because of my own shit. If I would just sat there and took it and, you know, waited in misery until things change, maybe my babies wouldn't be having these triggers of every time their father leaves their presence, they don't know when the next time they're going to see him. At least they were seeing him every day. That was something. Even though it wasn't the most ideal situation, it wasn't like for me, he was doing all the things he needed to do as a father, but at least they saw him every day. Now they not seeing him, they see him every blue moon. They talk to him every blue moon. It's like he doesn't even exist. And again, this wasn't what I wanted. This wasn't my goal. This wasn't the end goal, but this is something that happened. And they aren't comprehending it. Like they're upset. It's bothering them. Leah, especially. Micah, it bothers her too. But Leah, especially because she had so many years of her normalcy with both of her parents. Now she just has me. And even though I felt for years like I was the primary parent and I was doing all the things, my baby still knew the two. And so it was rough. We had a lot of good times, a lot of great moments, and made a lot of new memories. But we had moments of when you can see the things peeking through the cracks and how these transitions were affecting my babies for real, for real. And that affected me even further, right? Yeah, that was a lot. So moving on to transition number 5, me being in my apartment for almost a year, but I think that was that March and my lease renewed in July. And I think that February, March, no, it was that March. It was that March. I had another big conversation about my relationship, and that was to finalize everything, right? To move forward with the finalization. We're done. I went to my mom's house one day after going to work in the office. I had a doctor's appointment or something. I worked at the office, and no, I didn't work at the office. I had a doctor's appointment at work, um, and had went back to my mom's house to finish work for that day. And I was talking to her, and she was complaining about her house, and they don't do this and they don't do that, and I don't like it here no more. My mom had been there since Leah was born, so for the last 6 years, and she was over it. And I just heard God clear as day say to me, "Come together." And I was like, "Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. I'm not moving in with that lady. No, no." 7 months on her couch. She drove me crazy and I drove her crazy. No, we are not moving in together. But that was another thing about it. Me and my mom had planned, not me and my mom, me, my mom, and my had planned on eventually getting us a house that would be big enough for my mom to move in, because she was such a great asset for us, helping us with our children. Also, we were supplementing her income. She quit her job to help us take care of the kids. So why not get a space that she can move into with us, but have her own space? Not be in our business, and we won't be in her business, and we can just tap in whatever we wanted to, right? That was a part of the big dream. Anyways, so I was like, well, I was going to tolerate it then, so why can't I tolerate it now? But I think because we had just had that experience for those 7 months, we were over being around each other. Okay, enough is enough, girlfriend. But God said, come together. So I instantly, after me first getting annoyed by the thought, I instantly started to search for us a home, and I presented mommy with the idea. And I was like, look, I went on apartments.com or whatever and was looking up townhouses. I was like, we can rent a townhouse. I could take the basement and kind of like make it my own little studio apartment type situation. You and the girls be on the upper levels, whatever. Only share space is the living room, the dining room, the kitchen, stuff like that. That way we could still have our space from each other and do what we do. Right? She agreed. She got all excited and everything like that. And so we went apartment shopping. And that was a whole transition on its own, because we found this townhouse. We were super excited about it, and it was closer towards the city. So now I had made up my mind that, I moved back out to our school district thinking that I was going to have help from their father. That didn't happen for me the way that I thought it would. And so all of my family lives closer towards the city. I need to move where my support is. My friends and family was out there. Essentially, where I was alone. So I had to move closer to where my people was. So we started looking in those areas. And so it was another transition. And we were all excited. And this is no shade to my mom. We've had these conversations. Y'all know me and my mom talk about everything. But she was being very negative during this transitional season, and very not trying to hear what your girl was given. Just negative and doubtful. And when one thing wouldn't go through, she just essentially lost faith in the process. And it was weighing on me because I had to carry all of us through this. The girls are going to look at homes with us. They're there. And they're like, one place didn't have electricity. It hadn't been lived in for a while. And the girls was like, we don't want to live here. It's dark here. And I'm trying to explain this to them. And they like, we don't like it because it's too dark. And I'm like, babies, it just don't have light right now. Like, that's But even going on this transitional period with them, and with my mom being kind of in a negative space about it, like, oh, it's why I don't like doing stuff because it's too bad. Like, it was just too much. I had to carry everybody on my shoulders during this period, per usual. And so it was a lot for me. It was a lot for me. And the kids was just like, well, we like our current house. Like, we don't want to move again. Again? I'm about to move these kids again? Like, how did I go from not wanting to move them? We moved Leah when she was 1 year old. The baby didn't have, she don't even remember that place we were in when she was one. But she's been in this place for the last 5 years. And then we moved to my mom's house. Then we moved to our own place. Now we're moving again. And we're moving with my mom, still not with their dad. So it's like, bruh, in the last 2 years, it ain't even 2 years. That's the crazy part. Still to this moment today, it has not been 2 years since we started moving about. And it's just been a lot of transition. They weren't feeling it. They just kept saying they like they new house. I want to stay where we at. I had to keep having conversations, as always, explaining why we have to make these transitions, what's going on, da 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 da. I mean, this is so it's so taxing mentally and emotionally on me. And again, like my therapist had to keep reminding me, like, Portia, you're going through a lot. A lot of things are happening at once for you. Like, give yourself grace. It's okay. And I'm like, no, I'm just gonna keep on taking all these punches, and I'm just gonna keep. But it was affecting me and my babies. Like, I asked to be in this position. I didn't think I would have to be making all these big decisions, life decisions, and then we looking for places that are not in Leah's school district, and she's knowledgeable about it, and she's like, "Wait, I gotta leave my school too if we move." Definitely don't want to move. What are we talking about? No, I want to stay where we at. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do it. Like, I don't blame her. I don't blame her. It was just so many things. I'm like, listen, mommy is struggling. Me and my mom was struggling. Like, we can come together and make it do what it do. I mean, and that's most Americans' stories. We be out here struggling, and it's nothing wrong with consolidating and coming together. But I think, especially in our culture, that's frowned up on most times because we got to be out here getting it. Like, everybody got to be seemingly getting it. If you ain't getting it, then you ain't getting it. But the reality of the situation is, there's nothing wrong with coming together and making it work for the betterment of all those involved. My mom helps me with my kids. I was driving them to her house every weekend so she can help me take care of them while I heal, while I work, while I do things to take care of me. And why not? That was save gas. I want to keep putting all these miles on my new car, my new truck. What are we talking about? Like, even with that, a lot of places we thought we're going to go through didn't go through. We wanted the townhouse feel, and I had a whole vision, started shopping for it all. Like, oh, I'm going to make my apartment like this. Like, my basement was going to be the apartment for real. Like, this is going to be my own space. And da, 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 da. Like, that didn't happen. And so we looked at this. This was like a last resort type place, these apartments. And I was like, Lord Jesus, I don't know. We might have to just do a little 2 bedroom thing or whatever. We'll figure it out. We looked at this place, and yeah, it was beautiful. It had an indoor pool, fitness center, huge complex, huge community. It was just really nice. And my mom went there, and she was like, oh. She was just in such shock and awe of how nice the place was. She's like, I don't think we got back in the car afterwards. I was like, what did you think? Like, you didn't seem like you liked it or you were happy. And she's like, I am. I just don't think they gonna let us stay there. Like, they're not gonna let the likes of us in there like we some bad people or something. but I know what she was saying. Like, being Black, um, and living a certain type of way. I don't know. She just didn't think that we were going to get in there, and I'm like trying to stand on faith for the both of us. Like, God kept this place had been on my list all along, like on my saved places. But I was like, I don't want to live in an apartment. Like, I don't want to do that. But we needed to make a decision sooner than later. We were getting closer to the end of my lease. Mommy can leave at any time from her place. So we was like, we got to figure this out. Again, I want to be gone before the school year starts so that we can get settled into the new place and get acclimated to our new district and different things like that, right? We applied and we were approved. Thank you, Jesus. God came through again for your girl. And that was such a hard season because I was just like exhausted. I had spoke to my aunt and a few other people. Like, my mom really made that thing heavy. Okay. I was like, bruh. But it allowed us to have a conversation about boundaries and different things like that. I haven't lived with my mom since I was 24 or 5, something like that. And I was a full-blown adult, but that was me transitioning from a kid, teenager, into an adult under her roof. And she really wasn't, she still was trying to hold on to certain mandates and you got to be in the house by this time. And I'm like, girl, I'm grown. So we had to set boundaries because this time I'm not moving in with my mother. I'm not living under her roof. This was a joint effort of us coming together. I'm an adult. I make my own decisions. I do my own things. And this is how I would like to be respected. And vice versa. Whatever you want me to do to make you feel comfortable in your home as well, let's do that. Let's work towards that. Right. And so we had that conversation. It was really good. And yeah, me and the girls have been there. So we moved in there. And that was great. And this was the last transition, I guess. Well, almost last transition. We're in this new home. I found Leah's new school. When we got approved, I found her new school, everything. And I, broke the news to her further. Like, it's confirmed, you're leaving the school district. And one of her friends had a party over the summer from her old school. And we broke the news to them. And it was like a week before their school year started. I was like, Leah won't be returning. Everybody was so heartbroken. I was too. Like, I felt so bad and she felt bad. And oh man, it's just rough. Like, I wish we could have stayed out there. And even that was gonna be like even more of the last result. Like, mommy, you're gonna have to move out here with us. At least I have her as help. But it just worked out that we were able to move closer to all of our family and friends. Now I'm like 10 minutes away, 5 minutes away. If I can't make it, or if I gotta go out of town, or if I gotta do something, multiple people can help me access my children, do things. Thank God. Okay. Like, now Leah's bus stop, for the last 2 years, I had to drive to a bus stop. This year, her bus stop is literally outside of our house. My mom can walk her there if I'm not there. Like, it's just set up so perfectly. I'm telling you, when you don't know what you need, God always knows what you need. Okay. And he made a way out of no way. All right. And so it was just a blessing. It was a blessing. But then Micah, this is the transition, the new school district, and Leah going to a new school, preparing for that. Also trying to get Micah into another free preschool situation like she was in our previous district, and there was none to be found in our new district. And so I had to make the decision: am I going to add to my expenses, okay, further, or I'm going to go back to homeschooling Micah for 1 year? I homeschooled Leah for 1 year preschool. Now I'm going to do a homeschool for Micah. Yes. Had the conversation with Micah. Micah wasn't feeling it. Micah, like, I want to go to school like a big girl because I'm a big girl. even though Michael fell out every day of school for third pre-K 3, every day I took her to school. Y'all already know that the baby fell out, acted fool, got into school. She was great, came outside. It's like, I had a wonderful day. But it was the same thing every day. So I thought she would be glad to homeschool with mommy. At least you ain't got to go to the school. You could be home with mommy. We can make our own schedule, do our own thing, you know. And she was like, well, as long as you have the toys that preschool got, we good. And I was like, girl, ain't nobody doing all that. I did buy her some supplies and different things like that. And we were all excited. Well, my auntie bought her a book bag because why does she need a book bag to be homeschooled? I don't know. But my auntie bought her the book bag that she wanted, and lunchbox and water bottle, all the things. And she packs her lunch every day to sit right there in the living room with me and homeschool. So whatever, whatever. We made it do what it do. But even with that has come some downfall, right? Because Leah is enjoying her new school. She went on her first field trip. It's been like a lot. And me, even with the first field trip, Leah asked me to go. And Micah had been having some emotional detachment issues with mommy. So every time I would leave the house, first of all, they were getting a getaway every weekend going to Honey's house, right? But now Honey lives with us. So no longer do they have that break from Honey in or from their home situation. So when mommy leaves the house, now it's a problem every single time. Micah throwing a fit. Micah's acting out. Micah's bored with homeschool because all she sees is me and Honey. And she doesn't have any friends but Leah, right? And now she's, every time I have to leave the house to go to work or whatever I have to do, she's falling out. She's crying for hours because this transition is a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. Even though Honey is there and she's used to Honey, it's not enough. She wants mommy and she still is asking for her father. And so I have to deal with that. Another thing, like trying to figure this out, and that was even more of a light shining moment to show me that these kids are not handling all of this transition the way that I thought they were, and I think that I am, right? And that goes to me suppressing my feelings and my emotions and how I'm really handling things and pushing them to the side because I'm just rolling with the punches. I'm just steady getting hit, knock, knock, knock. And even though some of the knockings ended up with me being in a better position, it still doesn't mean that it hurts less or it's not being processed as a negative thing, essentially, especially when you had this vision of your life showing up another way, right? And now my kids are being triggered, feeling displaced, and have anxiety every time I leave the home. Like, who would have thought all of this would follow behind that? Like, how did we get here? So it's just been a thing. It's been a thing. And the final thing is this January will be 2 years that our lives have changed and so many aspects of it has transpired. And I'm constantly still being asked the questions by my children, when are we going to return back to normal? Because I think in their minds, they think this is temporary. Hell, in my mind, I thought it was too. This is our life. This is our new normal. And it's a struggle. It's a struggle. Um, it's just been so many things happening, and me still having to manage and maintain their mental health, and on top of trying to maintain mine. It's just been a lot. And I am releasing all of this, I have to release it. Because I've just been carrying it. Y'all know the lady that y'all saw on social media with the bags, and she walking up the steps in the shoes, and she carrying all these bags. Like I feel like I'm carrying all of these bags, and mainly it's my children's well-being, their mental health, and their emotional health. And I only can do what I can do, and take it for what it is, but it doesn't make it any less hurtful. And I just want to let it go. And year 36, I don't want to be holding on to those things. I don't want to take it so personally, even though had I not made certain decisions and moves and things, my children wouldn't be in this position. But who's to say what the position would look like had I not done these things? They probably would be in a worse position, to be honest. So even though it may not look like how I would want it to or how they would want it to, we are still doing the things that are necessary for us. And it's for the greater good. And in the midst of all this transitioning, it has allowed me and my girls to get closer to God. Their prayer lives are off the chain. Do you hear me? My babies know the Lord. They be over there going in with Him. And I'm grateful for that because I don't know if we would have fully got there without all of these transitions, the healing that has taken place with me. Um, Leah telling me the other day that I'm glad you came and walked with us, mommy, because I just don't want you to be so miserable. Like that stuck me right here. Like no mother wants to hear their child say that they're miserable. That's not the intention behind all of this transitioning, but I am actively healing and I'm doing it in front of my babies. And even though I think I am giving them a healthy amount of strength and showing despair, because those are real emotions and feelings. Um, I don't want their takeaway to be a negative one, like I'm miserable. I'm not miserable. At least I like to think I'm not. And maybe it's the optimist in me that wants to believe that I'm not, but it is hard. It is a lot. It's a burden. But God, um, and I know I shared a lot of high moments in the midst of these transitions. God has me and us exactly where He wants us to be. I can run down the what ifs. Maybe if I had all day long, God has me exactly where He needs me to be. Because why else would He approve and move and arrange and situate certain things to happen that way if it wasn't according to His will and purpose for my life? So I have to just really lean and depend on that. And I'm meant to feel these feelings. I'm meant to, it may come off like I'm miserable to my babies, but I have to feel these feelings in order to move forward. And so I'm transitioning like a mom, but I'm going to make it through this. And I am making it through this. And they are too. So I'm going to move to my next segment, which is Tools from the Toolbox of Life. This is where I give you any advice, resources, or tools that I think you will benefit from and me as well. So, according to ManhattanCBT.com, tips for dealing with transitions. This is just a few of their tips that they listed. Okay. Number one, if you're going through things, similar things that I'm going through, or you're experiencing a lot of transitions in your life right now, here are some tips that you can use to help you along the way. First one, prepare when you can, okay? When possible, try to prepare for your transition. This may involve outlining a plan for logistics of your transition or just setting a helpful mindset. Woo! Then I'll say that in the midst of that moving transition, I want to get in a helpful mindset, but it helps. That's the way that you can prepare, especially when you're transitioning with another person. Okay. Another thing you can do, set reasonable expectations. Unmet expectations can create frustration or stress. If you expect that navigating a transition will be a breeze and it doesn't work out that way, you may find yourself feeling disappointed. Instead, try to set the reasonable expectation that you will likely feel stressed and overwhelmed at times. Okay. It's also helpful to remember that feeling stressed during transitions is completely normal. Okay, Portia, it's completely normal to feel that way. But we're going to breathe through it. We're going to reset our expectations, right, everybody? Third, develop a routine. Establish a routine. A routine can help you adjust to a transition. So that is very important. And I told y'all this before, that helps me to be able to navigate my day-to-day life if I have a routine and I stick to it. Like, it's helping me build my discipline and be more structured and to get things done, to be more productive. Okay. Fourth is check your self-talk. Woo. What types of things are you saying to yourself? Okay. So in the midst of transitionings, like I was over here questioning myself, like, girl, if you would have just sat there and took it, girl, like you could have just been miserable so these kids can be cool. But no, they were going to see mommy be miserable in that situation, and they see mommy being miserable outside the situation. Irregardless, check your self-talk, Portia. Give yourself grace and don't be so hard on yourself, okay? You're doing what's best for you and your babies, period. Fifth, set small goals. Instead of trying to fully resolve everything related to your transition, set small, feasible goals to take on one at a time. Okay. That's very important. And another thing that I have to continuously do, I set small goals. I still get overwhelmed at times, but again, adjust your expectations, Portia. Okay. Stay connected. Social support is critical during times of transition. Chatting with a family member or a friend can be a way to help your transition feel less lonely. They say family member or friend. I also would add therapist. Okay. Shout out to Nikki. She's been helping your girl through all of this for sure. She's been with me from the moment that I left up until this point, and I am so grateful. In addition to my family and friends that have been through this journey with me, it has been remarkable. Like, seriously, it helps ease the transition seriously. And seven, practice self compassion. Okay. Change is difficult. The reality is that you aren't always going to navigate life transitions perfectly. While these recommendations can be useful in making transitions a bit easier, it is important to also be kind and compassionate to yourself during this time. Portia, you got this, girl. And you, whoever is watching this, you got this. Be kind to yourself. Give yourself grace. Be compassionate. It's okay. Transitions are hard, but my God is able. Okay. So we're going to lean in on that place. We're going to dwell in that space and really feel the feels as we experience these transitions. Okay. I hope those tips help you guys as they have helped me. I have implemented some of them throughout my transitions, but still, like I told you guys in my story time, that sometimes you can plan, you can prepare, you can do all the things, and you will still get situations that come about, i.e., the girls going through their moments or whatever. But I'm just going to continuously pray, set my expectations, um, and ask God to give me the strength that I need. He's already given me the strength, but help me to apply the skills that He has given me throughout this time to help my babies as I help myself. Okay? Because I know our help comes from Him. Thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. So moving right along, this that song came up again for me. I need more songs apparently, but maybe that's what God want me to sing again. So anyway, woo, I just can't give up now. Yeah, so moving on to my Speak Life affirmations. This is the segment where I leave you with a call of action for yourself, but not just for you, for me as well. So I'll leave you with these words to hold on to until next time. Today's Speak Life affirmation is I will transition over and over in this life, and I'm learning to appreciate the process. Again, today's Speak Life affirmation is I will transition over and over in this life, and I'm learning to appreciate the process. You heard it, you say it, you write it down, and remind yourself to speak that thing and make it happen because Life Be Life in the Soul. I love you guys. Thank you all for tuning in to Life Be Life in podcast with me, Portia O. Once again, I'll see y'all back here next time. Have a wonderful holiday. See you next year.